Good morning, everybody. Welcome to this week's episode of The County Seat. I'm your host, Chad Booth. Last year, during the legislative session, we talked about Medicaid expansion. It was a big topic. And we looked at a plan promoted by the legislature, one promoted by the governor, and of course, the federal plan. Well, we have pretty much decided that the governor's idea is the one that Utah is progressing with, called the Healthy Utah Initiative. Today on our program, we'd like to explain what that program would look like if it's implemented, its pros and cons, and the problems that are being created by not having it implemented yet. That's our list of topics today. Let's start with some background on the Utah Healthy Initiative. Here's Terry Wood.
Medicaid was signed into law in 1965 as part of President Lyndon Johnson's Great Society. It provides insurance for people of all ages who don't have enough income or resources to pay for health care. The program is run by each individual state and is funded 70% by the federal government, with each state picking up the remaining 30%. States were not required to provide Medicaid initially, but all 50 of them have chosen to do so. Medicaid was a direct benefit plan originally, but in the 1980s, many states received waivers from the federal government to create Medicaid managed care programs. This is where states could use the funds to enroll eligible people into private health plans. The Patient Protection and Affordable Care Act, which was passed in 2010, proposed that states expand Medicaid to cover all people making up to 138% of the federal poverty level. That means a single adult with an annual income of up to $15,856 would be eligible for Medicaid. In exchange for states expanding coverage, the federal government would increase their share of the cost from 70% up to 100% for 3 years, then eventually back to a new permanent level of 90%. A Supreme Court ruling made it clear that the states could opt to take a different direction and not be threatened with the loss of federal dollars for their current plans. Currently, more than half the states have opted to expand Medicaid as outlined in the ACA, and the rest have either chosen not to expand or are thinking about an alternative. Utah's proposed Healthy Utah plan would secure federal funds to allow the state to implement its own plan. Insurance plans would be offered through the private sector and would cover adults below 138% of the federal poverty level. Currently, people who fall below what is considered 100% of the federal poverty level have no available subsidies for health insurance. In Utah, that accounts for approximately 61,000 people. These people and their families fall into what's called the donut hole, and that can create a challenge for counties who end up being the safety net. Unfortunately, the counties don't have the money to take care of these people. We'll discuss these challenges and how the Healthy Utah plan could help. It's our roundtable discussion coming up. For the County Seat, I'm Terry Wood.
Thanks, Terry. Appreciate that perspective. It clears up what this program looks like. Now, let's find out what kind of problems we are facing because we don't have it incorporated yet. Join us for our panel discussion with our guests here right after this commercial break.
There is a place where young and old make connections, where kids feel like grown-ups, and grown-ups feel like kids. There is a place where beauty arises in contrast, where wonder is universal, and laughter second nature. There is a place where friends find a future, families find each other, and feelings find their home. There is a place.
There are a couple great things about the Uinta Basin. One is it's still small, it's community.
It makes you feel like when you go somewhere, you know everybody.
When you know your neighbor knows you, and you can trust each other. People look out for one another.
I grew up in the Uinta Basin, and I think that it's a good place to raise a family.
So we packed up our 3 kids, and here we came to Uinta County, and what a great place it was.
It's not too big, it's not too small.
And it has a lot to offer that you just don't get in the big city anymore.
You go through the day-to-day repeating what you did yesterday. Don't you wish you could access that piece of your life that's missing? Find the beauty, serenity, family fun, or anything else that's missing from your life in the Cedar City, Bryan Head area. Gain access to your adventure, whether it's camping, hiking, the arts, festivals, or just a getaway. Visit CedarCityAYL.com for details on all the adventures that you can access in scenic southern Utah.
What would you do with an extra day in Utah Valley? Explore the Wasatch Mountains? Snap a family photo at Bridal Veil Falls. Cool off on Utah Lake or the Provo River. No matter what you're searching for, you can find it in Utah Valley. Bring everyone together.
Welcome back to the county seat. Our topic today is Utah's contribution, the Healthy Utah Initiative, which is our Medicaid expansion proposal that we've just highlighted in the last segment. We are going to talk about the impacts of it not being implemented yet, what we can look forward to, and some of the problems and pitfalls. Joining us for conversation is Sven Wilson, who is a professor of public policy at Brigham Young University. We have Pat Fleming, who's the director of Salt Lake County Division of Behavioral Health Services, and Liz Fukui, who is with the Utah Association of Counties and advises on these sorts of mental health issues. Thank you for joining us. Let's follow up on our scorecard. How are we doing at providing these mental health services through the to people? Do we have coverage right now? I guess that's the big question.
Well, let me jump in there. So in Utah, county government by state law are given the responsibility to deliver public behavioral health services, and what I mean by that is public mental health services and public substance use disorder services. By state law, the counties have to deliver that. Right now, there are so many uninsured people that are clamoring for our services. In Salt Lake County, I've got 90-day waiting lists to get people into residential services. I've got 3-month waiting lists also for day treatment services, for other types of services. So there are more and more uninsured people coming to the county because we are the social safety net for behavioral health services for the citizens of Utah. And so we can't meet that demand anymore. And so I think the reason that we're excited about the governor's approach and the fact that we can get folks covered is because for the first time, what we've realized in the United States is the behavioral health care is part of health care. And we should pay for it that way and treat it that way. And we've been advocating for that for a very long time. So we think this is an opportunity for us to really get a handle on this and intervene earlier with people so that we can help them get back on their feet and get their families back together, be productive workers, taxpayers, and that kind of thing. So I think we could do a lot better if we had the governor's plan in place or some form of Medicaid expansion, because right now, that's where the problem is. The very poorest in Utah are left out. They do not have any coverage.
And part of the problem that we're seeing is that these are the people that touch the community the most. They're the people that are your neighbors or the people on the street. Some people that need the most help, they'll end up in emergency services, they'll end up in county jails. And so this is a way to address that problem, to get them out of county jails where they probably aren't getting the best treatment that they need, and they'll probably do a lot better, they'll recover, they'll contribute to society again if they're given that opportunity.
Well, let me ask a fundamental question here, because obviously treatment has to happen. Counties are paying for it. Is that treatment less expensive in the clinic than it is, say, in the jail or in a public health setting?
Yeah. So right now, the day rate in the Salt Lake County Jail is about $80 a day just to incarcerate somebody there, and then we provide treatment services in our county jail, and that's an extra $20 a day per head. So you're looking at over $100 a day. We can treat somebody in the community for about a third of that on a day rate. So it's much cheaper. And the other thing is, you're taking a scarce resource, which is a county jail cell. Those jail cells need to be used for the people that we are really afraid of and the people that need to be incarcerated. Somebody with a mental illness or a substance use disorder, they don't generally need to be there because there's no other place for them to go. That's where they wind up.
Well, the counties are doing a terrific job in providing this system, and the way it's working now, it's very much a safety net. When people have kind of fallen to the bottom, then they're picked up in the service and they don't have any other options. A much more cost-effective way and a way that's more humane and effective generally is to get these people earlier and to have them connect to the healthcare system to get the physical and mental health services that they need before they enter into crisis mode, and they end up at the door of the county jail, or they get picked up on the street, or they're at the emergency room. And so what the Healthy Utah Plan does is that it gives people access to private insurance, just like everyone else in the state has. It gives this group of people that are in the donut hole, that are poor people who don't have access to buy health insurance through healthcare.gov, like higher income people do. It's the very poor people who need that help, and this gives them that access point to jump in and get treatment earlier on before they end up becoming a crisis.
Well, there was some concern when the entire shift over to the Affordable Care Act came out. One of the arguments is there were a lot of plans for people that are able to pay in that higher category, that there's not adequate mental health care coverage. And there used to be some plans that didn't provide any. How has that changed in this new landscape? Because you might be able to provide health care, but if mental health care is not incorporated into it, we've not accomplished anything.
So the interesting thing about the way that the Salt Lake County system works is Salt Lake County government does not provide the services directly with county employees. What we do is we take our money and we contract with the private sector to deliver the services. And we've been doing it that way for 30 years. And I will tell you right now, I am very confident the private sector will step up and meet our demand. If we provide the proper incentive to them, financial incentive, they will respond. So we will have adequate care as long as we do it, but we've got to get out and do something. The longer we wait, the worse this crisis is going to get. So, and we know that some folks, some professionals are actually leaving our state and going to other states where they're providing the care.
And in the other counties, this has been a demand on scarce resources, as we talked about before. By bringing in that block grant money with the Healthy Utah Plan, we'd be able to ramp up those resources in other counties and be able to provide all of the mental health and substance use disorder.
And under the ACA, there's a concept called mental health parity, right? Where there's now new regulations putting mental health on an equal footing with physical health. And this Healthy Utah Plan is a way to do that. The governor and his team will still need to go negotiate with insurance companies, with the federal government, what that exactly means, who will provide what. But we have kind of the system in place to do that. What we don't have is the funding to provide that system.
And this may be just a little bit fuzzy for some people out there, but are we actually in a spot because we haven't actually gotten approval from the federal government on this healthy care initiative, and it's not actually in place and running, that there are people who are worse off today than when we started with the Affordable Care Act because there were other mechanisms to help them? Is that fair to say that?
I don't think so. I think what's happened is the recognition out there is that people do deserve some access to health care. I think that really is what's going on now. So we're seeing a lot more people coming in asking us because they think they have the right now to get coverage. And the fact that we have to come in and they come into us and they say, well, we want some care. We say, you got to go on a waiting list. Well, no, I'm covered because everybody in the United States is supposed to have coverage. And I say, well, yeah, except in Utah, if you're between zero, no income, and up to 100%, like for an individual, $11,000 a year, sorry, there's no option for you. And that's where we're at right now. So people are coming in now because for the very first time they think they have an opportunity to get care. And we have to tell them.
And the federal government has already allocated that money, right? We have this, it's entirely a state decision of whether or not we're going to take those funds and use them in some way.
So that's a good place to take a break, and we will pick up with the economics of this conversation when we come back. You're watching The County Seat. Our topic today, Utah's affordable, our Healthy Initiative, part of the Affordable Care Act, and its impact on mental health across the county system. We'll be right back with The County Seat.
When you buy Utah made and grown.
I'm a Utah's own vegetable grower. I care about the foods I produce.
Because when it comes to quality local foods, I understand the importance of Utah grown and raised.
The jobs that we enjoy are vital because Utah's Own supports our communities.
As a consumer, I look for Utah's Own products because Utah's Own is good for me and it's good for Utah.
Keep it here at home, Utah's Own.
Kanab, base camp for your southern Utah adventures. belong in Kanab.
The Bear Lake Valley is a beautiful, rural, historical, and recreational paradise. The changing of the season makes now a great time to come our way to see the warm colors of fall in contrast with the cool blues of Bear Lake. Visit us in the Bear Lake Valley. Come for the ride, stay for the adventure.
Why is it that environmental protection and economic development are often placed at odds with each other? Well, in Duchesne County, they have both. Here, modern industry and resource development go hand in hand with some of the most pristine wilderness in the western United States. A strong economy balanced with a lifestyle of exploration and discovery. But don't take my word for it. Go visit them. Duchesne County, close enough for business, far enough, get away.
Welcome back to the county seat. We're talking today about the Utah Healthy Initiative. We are talking about we're about ready to shift into the economics. Let's just clear again exactly where we are as far as who this block grant, if it comes in, is for, because this would be our alternative to a traditional Medicaid expansion that would be under the Affordable Care Act, and it's our own approach to it. So who are the targets here? Who's missing the coverage?
Well, let me just, I'll let Dr. Wilson do the numbers. So what's on right now is the Affordable Care Act under the health insurance exchanges covers people that are at 100% of poverty, up to 400% of poverty can go into the federal exchange and go out and actually sign up for insurance subsidy so they can buy their health insurance plan out there. Then we have people that are covered under our traditional Medicaid plan, but it's categorical eligibility. That means that not everybody's covered. So what you have right now is you have a donut hole, which means that there's a gap in coverage for a lot of people at 100% of poverty down to no money at all. And to give you an example, that's $11,700 a year and less. You've got a lot of people that are in that hole that are, some are working but don't have insurance through their employer. Those are the people that we're looking to cover right now.
Well, I'm an economist. I'm a limited government free market type of guy, so I'm skeptical of federal programs. But it's important that people understand that this is an atypical situation. So let me explain this with an object lesson if I can. Okay. Imagine that here we have a $50 bill. This represents the taxes that Utahns have already paid to the federal government, and this is the money that the federal government says we can take back through using Medicaid dollars in some way. So we've already paid this, we want it back. The state's probably going to have to kick in a little bit. Best estimates would be that that amounts to about a quarter. And so the question is that, do we want to provide health care coverage for the poor, including mental health coverage, with these terms? We'll cough in a quarter, maybe 2 quarters, if we get the numbers wrong, and we get $50 in benefits, which we've already paid, right? They're coming out of our pocket in the first place. And so that's an economics problem that I wouldn't give my students because it's too obvious. What do you do? Are you willing to spend a quarter to pick up $50? And those dollars, particularly those dollars, go to help these poorest among us who are struggling for one reason or another and don't have access to the system that the rest of us do.
Well, let me throw out the argument that I've heard across the board from people saying, okay, well, we know we're $17 trillion in debt, the clock's ticking, it'll be 18 trillion, 20 trillion in no time flat, and one day the government won't be able to pay for it. And all of a sudden we'll be into a big program and we'll have all that money spent. How do you guys answer that?
Well, there are definitely long-term problems with the federal entitlement programs which need to be addressed. But the fact that we can look 20, 40 years down the line and say, we're going to have to fix this, doesn't mean you take a $50 bill today and rip it up and say, we don't like the way you're operating in the future, so let's not take this money now because we want to send a signal that we don't like Obamacare or whatever we're trying to do politically with that. It's the economics of it just don't make any sense. These dollars don't have any strings attached. We can stop it. Governor Herbert's plan is designed to end after 3 years, and then all those people that want to provide health care, they're going to have to come to the table. They're going to have to go to the legislature and make the case. It almost seems like the legislatures are afraid of success. They're afraid that the program would work and the people won't want to give it up. That's an interesting way to make public policy in the state.
How much drain does this have on counties right now, Liz?
Well, right now, I mean, the problem is that we're not able to provide the service to everybody that we would like to. The counties are indebted to those people that are under the Medicaid program, but there are a lot of people that aren't covered right now, and so the problem is they can't serve all the people that they want to in the community that have these problems, and the counties need to look for other opportunities to fund these programs.
There are a lot of people who will be watching the show that would think that this is an urban problem. Is that the case?
No, absolutely not. The problem that you have in some of the other counties is that they don't have access to the resources that they need. In Salt Lake County, they've done an excellent job of building up a great array of services, but in a smaller county, there may just be one place that you go to. Well, if everybody goes to that one place, then those waiting lists are longer and longer.
And this gives them the funds, Healthy Utah, to do that.
Exactly.
Gives them a private insurance plan where they can show up at that clinic in their county and get the services they need.
Well, let's take a break. When we come back, we will talk about putting on our thinking caps and figuring out how to go forward to get this all in play, because it seems to be a little bit stalled right now. We'll be back with the county seat in just a minute.
There aren't a lot of places in this world where you can feel truly free and wild, where the horizon invites you to set off on adventure. In Tooele County, you'll find just that. Explore the Benson Grist Mill and step back in time. Find yourself on a trek through our canyons. Tooele County. Experience endless horizons.
You go through the day-to-day repeating what you did yesterday. Don't you wish you could access that piece of your life that's missing? Find the beauty, serenity, family fun, or anything else that's missing from your life in the Cedar City Bryan Head area. Gain access to your adventure, whether it's camping, hiking, the arts, festivals, or just a getaway. Visit cedarcityayl.com for details on all the adventures that you can access in scenic southern Utah.
Sevier County is perfect. The brand new fairgrounds facility includes a large meeting hall, breakout rooms, and a perfect kitchen facility to feed just a few or hundreds. The county also boasts the Sevier Valley Center on the campus of Snow College Richfield. This facility includes an arena and numerous breakout rooms that can be used for any type of meeting, conference, or event. When planning your next meeting or conference, consider placing it in the center of it all, Sevier County.
Unlimited opportunity for adventure? It's all about knowing where to look. ATV adventures, rock crawling events, art festivals, and wildlife events. The opportunities are limitless. Pick your adventure in Millard County.
Welcome back to the county seat. Our topic today, Utah Healthy Initiative, its impact on mental health and the services that counties provide. Let's just make sure as we've talked here, because I've thrown a lot of roadblocks out in this half hour to try and create this conversation and answer some questions. Where does UAC stand on this, Liz?
So the Utah State Association of County Commissioners and County Council members, so all of the county elected officials, took a vote a couple of months ago and voted unanimously to support and be at the table when the governor talks about his Healthy Utah Initiative plan. So to say that we want to be able to help figure out what's best for these people and support him as he goes back and talks to the federal government and tries to get that plan signed off.
All right, this was a conversation last year in the legislature. We are now approaching September. We're not too far away from a full year. We have nothing has happened. So in a perfect world for each of you, what does the future look like for a perfect solution?
Okay, so I was going to say is that the $50 bill that Dr. Wilson held up there, one of those years of that is already gone, because there was 3 years that we had in place, 2014, 15, and 16 calendar year. We're already through 2014 and we have not made a decision, so that's gone. So what I'd like to see is I'd like to see a decision made. I'd like to have the governor go back to Washington. I think he's going back in the end of this month, and try to get some kind of decision, come back and talk to legislative leadership about it. I would prefer a special session sometime in December where we could get the legislature with the new leadership that'll be there to really think about this and take action and go forward, so that on January 1st we have something in place so that we can start pulling down those dollars. I've got so many people on waiting lists, I need to get them into services, and that's really what I want to do. I want to see it start happening in January.
I think some critics of the governor are saying, well, this is just the governor's sneaky attempt to do more federal programs. This Healthy Utah initiative is very much not Medicaid expansion by another name. This is taking the dollars that were reserved for Medicaid under the ACA and giving them to the private insurance market, or giving them actually to individuals to buy private insurance. And so what that does is it not only gives them access, a broad access to the healthcare system in the state, but it strengthens the insurance market in the state. Because all of a sudden you have new money coming in on the consumer side to buy health insurance. A criticism of other programs would be that if you pump up Medicaid, it would undermine the private insurance market. But under this Utah solution that the governor has come up with, it's very much in line with conservative principles in the state, in that we're now allowing private markets to fully function in this program and using federal dollars to
As
fund
an
that.
economist, do you think, because some people would argue this point, that more money going into the insurance market would be propping it up, or would it actually make it more competitive and streamlined? Would it actually improve rates and coverage and things of that nature?
That's a little hard to say, but generally when you have more people out there shopping for insurance, you're going to get better outcomes. You're going to get premiums and copays and things that stay in line
because
with
of
the
the competitive
expectations,
nature of the business.
because of the support for the market.
Okay.
And these people will be getting coverage not only in physical health, but mental health, and if they have a substance use disorder, all of these things. So overall, these people will start returning to their jobs. They'll start, being able to start families. They'll contribute to their community more. So overall, this helps the county, and it helps improve the community that you live in. So
and everything right now is the bottom line of this whole thing is, when you get your annual statement from the county on your county taxes, your property taxes, look on that, because what you're doing is you're paying for behavioral health services again after we've already paid for it. Because when you're paying Salt Lake County part of your taxes, part of that money is going in for us to have to provide these services as a safety net, when we shouldn't really have to be doing that. We should be availing ourselves of those dollars we've already paid in.
Okay, very good. Any final thoughts from any of you?
Well, this is one of those rare issues where it's a win-win-win all around. We've already paid the money, let's use it.
Well, thank you very much for joining us. We thank you for joining us, inviting us into your home each week on the county seat. These are important issues, and they're complicated sometimes, and there are a lot of people that have broad points of view from one end of the spectrum to the other. But through dialogue like this, we can actually make things happen. Remember, county government is where your life happens. Be part of the solution. Be involved and share this with your friends on social media. Go to our website, look at our blog, and we'll look for you next week on the county seat. Thank you. If you like this video, then we invite you to subscribe to our channel, The County Seat. You can do that here. And we invite you to share with your friends. We also invite you to get all the latest up-to-date information by following us on our social media channels. And if all else fails, make sure that you watch The County Seat Sunday morning at 8:30 right here on ABC4 Utah.